fun, adventure, raw one-on-one action. Wait, that's not what I... If you want to believe that anime can deliver you something that has all these excellent attributes, then shonen is what you should be gunning for. So I'm kind of making this video as a follow-up to the video I made last year talking about my enjoyment of slice of life anime. As well as that, I'm going to be talking about a comment that was left there. Clear and Sweet, someone who I do respect in terms of anime content on YouTube, left this comment here. And while I do understand where they were coming from, I'll make sure to do better, I promise. The intent was never to make slice of life seem like it was underserviced, nor was it to make it seem like action shonen was the default. The main point I was getting at in the video was to highlight a distinguishing factor of anime-manga, that if you've had a presence within those social media circles, everyone oh so loves and hates to get involved in. Discourse. I don't find slice of life underserviced. Not in the slightest. I think both categories can stand strong with one another. However, in terms of how it is treated sometimes, I think it's definitely deserving of a little bit more respect. I mean, take for example My Dress Up Darling. I talked about that anime with Shay, but because of its popularity, it was categorically mocked and ridiculed by fans of Attack on Titan for taking the top spot in terms of popularity, when both were airing at the same time. And it also won an award for Anime of the Season, where it was heckled then. So yeah, no respect whatsoever. And I feel like that was the purpose of the slice of life video, to show that it definitely needed a lot more respect than it gets. At least in terms of its relevance and social media status with shonen. But either way, onto this video now. And so to those unaware, what even is shonen? Well, shonen is described as a category of anime or manga that are typically created for an audience of male adolescents, or guys from the ages of 12 to 18. Yeah, see, in Japan, the main defining trait for these categories are the fact that they are gendered. So, for example, shoujo is like what's described for shonen, but for female audiences. And other categories like seinen or josei are much like shonen and shoujo, just for more mature audiences. Now, does it have to be that guys only have to consume shonen or seinen? Well, no, to be honest. Anyone can consume what they want after all. No shame here. Also, another interesting thing about shonen is that because of how I described it, that means that shonen does mostly consist of action series, but it's not only action series that are shonen. You typically have to have your series appear in one of the several shonen publishing magazines such as Weekly Shonen Jump, such as, I don't know, Bokuben We Never Learn or Nisekoi, both series that are featured in Shonen Jump that aren't action series whatsoever. However, for the purposes of this video, I will mostly be looking at action series. Not because any of the other series aren't worth looking at or anything, but action series are typically what are most popular when it comes to hearing the term shonen. Shonen obviously was popular from the beginning of its inception, and mangaka such as Osamu Tezuka laid out the groundworks for other mangaka on his shoulders to follow after Astro Boy serialization in 1952, and Go Nagai also being responsible for several works in the 60s and 70s. However, even though Tezuka and Nagai's legacies are outstanding, I feel like there is another mangaka whose legacy will be known as the one to start off all anime-manga enjoyment all across the world. Dr. Slump was created in 1980 by a man named Akira Toriyama, and the series itself was creative in the sense that it combined the weird and wonderful, with the main character Arale herself being a humanoid robot who needs glasses to see. Wacky. Ultimately, Dr. Slump is a gag series and meant to be a sort of parody to Western media also, with the usage of puns and the oh-so-funny toilet humor. All this, though, meant that Toriyama had a foothold in producing weekly manga, and due to Dr. Slump's success in Weekly Shonen Jump and its eventual conclusion to the manga in 1984, Toriyama decided to take what he had with Dr. Slump and made his new outing carry some of the successful points for what made it a hit in the first place. Little did anyone know that this next foray in manga creation would lead to one of the most influential and recognizable pieces of media ever created. No, literally, even saying that would be an understatement. Dragon Ball debuted in 1984, and it was obviously, by the amount of marketing and cult fanbase it accumulated over the decades, a hit. The sense of adventure, the charming and iconic characters, the wonder and mystique within our shrimp main character Goku. It obviously makes sense why this series took off like it did. Unless you just watched Z because it was all you had, in which case fair play. But the original series shouldn't be overlooked either. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get into this franchise. Not only for the backstory of Goku and how he became to be in Z and beyond, but also for the characters that support him in his journeys and battles utilizing martial arts as well as spiritual energy, and how he was able to form solid relationships with all of them, while also taking on goofy foes like Pilaf to the much more imposing threats like that of King Piccolo. It has everything that people would connect with, because as time went on with the franchise into its follow-up series like Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and even Dragon Ball Super, the series would get bigger and better. The stakes were constantly raised with each saga. It would gain more threatening and iconic villains like Frieza, Cell, and Boo, and with these new directions, enthralling action, and story, it would garner an audience that connects with Goku and even some of the other characters. It cannot be overstated how big a franchise like Dragon Ball is, despite some not being fans of it, it would find itself influencing other anime, manga, and video games to come out after it. Western TV shows and movies would find itself under its influence. There is no escaping the absolute hold this franchise has on a lot of people, which is definitely why it's considered one of the greatest series of all time. And as for Toriyama, he would be regarded as one of the greatest mangaka and artists to live, and that's honestly deserved considering the amount of mangaka to come after him genuinely having a lot of respect for his work, and also the praise given with his other works with Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, and Chrono Cross, to name a few. However, if you're in the know, you probably are aware of why I'm mentioning him here, and if you're not, well, the thing is, creative talents in the world don't stick around forever. Sadly, it would be announced that Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st, 2024, at the age of 68. Now, originally for this video, I was going to mention him anyway, as like a sort of pioneer for our generation of shonen manga. A slight little mention and then on with everything else. However, after hearing the news, I wanted to do something a little bit better than that. A little bit more special. And my words can't possibly do Toriyama the justice that he deserves. But I wanted to try my best anyway with how much I love his series and admire his legacy. With Toriyama's influence on the state of shonen at the time rocking the world, it was obvious who there was to look up to. The 80s definitely had a new era on its hands with Fist of the North Star, Captain Tsubasa, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure swiftly being in high circulation. And with the 90s and 2000s, it would then bring about brand new influential shonen manga and mangaka to the scenes, such as Ichiro Oda for One Piece, Yoshihiro Togashi for Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter, Masashi Kishimoto for Naruto, Tadokubo for Bleach, and as well as so many others that would continue to stand on their shoulders, even going into the 2010s and 2020s. It really felt that because of Toriyama, shonen and really Japanese media overall wouldn't be like it is today, especially not so across the world for that matter, because manga and anime would eventually find itself within Western media thanks to the likes of translators like Viz Media nowadays, and dubbing studios such as Bang Zoom, Funimation, and 4Kids, as well as many others. Now, there's a question that has to be posed here that I feel like has a sort of relevance to all of this, and it's because of the fact that shonen does make up the majority of most popular things associated with manga and anime. So like, does Western influence actually ruin or taint a certain series? Now, this can be answered in several ways, like any way you want, such as like in terms of fandom, dubbing, or just really whatever. And realistically, I understand it can depend on what the definition of ruin or taint means to you, but I feel like this can be a question posed to an audience that may bring different answers, so let me know in the comments. I ask this because we're going to be circling back to something I mentioned from the start, and that is Discourse. And yes, shonen is ripe for the picking when it comes to this, and it tends to be from the Western audiences especially. Yeah, shonen for us Western viewers is very divisive because of certain opinions some will uphold of these series. I mean, look no further than My Hero Academia for plentiful discourse on the ridiculous and petty things from the fandom. Wink. Wink. Jesus, that video is going to be 5 years old this year. And recently, Jujutsu Kaisen has not been doing so hot recently. I mean, Gojo hasn't felt the same after that jaw surgery. But realistically thinking about it, there are understandable cases for why Jujutsu Kaisen fails but also succeeds at what it does. Because some might not be looking for a deep, meaningful series behind the scenes. However, not only do people want fun fights and curses, but they want something more out of their series. Great, plentiful character interactions, solid story beats, etc. As for My Hero, well, how do I put this? Well, the recent stuff concerning My Hero is kind of the fact that people think that since its foray into the anime manga world in 2014, 10 years later, it's not as big of a series as it once was, with people claiming it has fallen off. Now, I can see where people are coming from, but also I think some are quick to point the blame at the fandom for this, and while understandable, in reality I feel like this is just kind of how it goes for some series. Admittedly, not every series will have its consistent high points. In fact, several series have vast differences in their highs and lows. More notably, Demon Slayer, Fairy Tail, and dare I say, Ruby. Series with absolutely excellent highs wherever it counts, no doubt, but also some pretty arguable or undeniable low points when you find them. It's just the fact that it had to happen around the time when supposedly the last arc of My Hero is going to be, which, yeah, kinda does doesn't bode well if most are disincentivized near the end of the manga and start the anime's 7th season, but honestly, we shouldn't necessarily remember My Hero for its supposed fall from greatness, but rather what it has done to solidify itself as a good manga and anime series, at least for the first 3 or 4 seasons. And that I do applaud Kohei Horikoshi for. But seriously, complaining about fan service? Complaining about chapter 368 because its cover art is, oh no, Hagakure's naked and all that, even though that's literally the point of a quirk. You didn't even read the manga. The point is, shonen and more popular anime manga series in the West are kind of treated as people's own personal grudge matches to see who really comes out on top of each other, which is often why you get the meatheads who consider their series above all others. No contest. And listen, I'm all for defending what you love. Godspeed. But to what end does any of that really matter anyway if you're just shoving everyone's opinions into an incinerator? Why brawl when you can simply enjoy anime manga for what it has brought us, compare the good and the bad, and actually have proper discussions again? Which is the perfect segue for discussion time. If the slice of life video was anything to go by, you know the deal for this part. I ask questions, we get answers from people I know. So to start with the first one, what series do you feel like truly influenced your love for shonen, seinen, shoujo, or josei, and what did it do to properly stand out to you?
When I think about the shonen I've watched, by definition, I've got to say Fairy Tail. I mean, in terms of the bigger series, I've not seen Naruto or One Piece, and I've only just started watching Dragon Ball with you, for various reasons that I've said to you about personally. But in terms of your question, yeah, definitely Fairy Tail. I love the scale of it, even though I knew watching a big show would be a big task, but it had a great way of world building that made it come alive. You learn how the world works, and therefore how magic works. You learn how society works, and how that shapes people's day-to-day life. And although it's a fantasy setting, it can really be relatable at times with how social hierarchies work. And as an extension of that, the character arcs are really special, and because the cast is so big, there's tons to explore, but I won't gush over it too much because we'll both have plenty of time to talk about how I feel about Fairy Tail some other time.
Naruto and Naruto Shippuden really grabbed me by the balls, interwoven itself into my chemistry. It really influenced like my stuff today. It really did though. It influenced my art style because I'm an artist as well. Influenced how I've been drawing my characters. Just something about the world building, the lore, the characters, the power systems, the conflict, the cool powers, the cool fights. There's something about Naruto that it can't be replicated at all. Naruto was a very, very important character in my development. Taught me how to keep going and fight the good fight. Reach for your goals, shoot for the stars. That's what Naruto taught me, and it's just very inspiring seeing his journey from depressed, lonely to the leader in the Hokage that he becomes at the end of the series, and it's very, very heartwarming. But Tokyo Ghoul / Tokyo Ghoul Re, anime sucks. But the manga is generational. When it comes to Tokyo Ghoul, I just really related to Kaneki and his whole journey. More so the earlier parts, because he kind of gets a little crazy near the end. It's just a cool journey to witness with the powers, the world building, with all the ghouls and how they're treated throughout society, and how regular humans fear them, and then their power, their grip on society. But also, you have characters like Toka, gentle, kind soul, somewhat. He's one of my favorite characters, along with Kaneki. I took great joy in his sweet shit work, and I'm making a manga for myself. It influenced not only my art style, but also my storytelling decisions. I didn't even notice it. I would like catch it and be like, damn, it's kind of familiar, huh?
Jujutsu Kaisen. It's one of the more recent shonens that honestly has kept me hooked since the very beginning. Initially, it's just very straightforward in establishing its system and how that system impacts Jujutsu society. And as the story goes on, you can see how many pieces from past chapters start to come together to form an intriguing narrative that doesn't shy away from showing the faults in that system that has been established. Harsh reality is one of the many ways to put Jujutsu Kaisen, without going too into detail. Shonen is just a classification literally meaning for adolescent males, but do you think it's more than that at all? Not too much to say here, but I also see shonen more for its mass introduction for new people wanting to get into the anime manga sphere. It's definitely one of the more easily approachable options for people in comparison to some other series, but once again it depends on the person.
I think the classification of shonen being targeted towards young adolescent males has been something I've had a lot to say about for a while, so I'll try to be as brief as possible without getting too carried away. In a modern world, categorizing series by what gender they're targeted towards doesn't really work. work. I'm sure there's a deep cultural traditional reason why it's done this way, so I won't dispute it much. But to me, a Western world living woman, I'm used to categorizing shows and movies by their content and not who they're aimed for. Action, romance, horror, sci-fi, etc. Rather than if it's meant to be for young teenage boys and girls or young children or any particular age group. I find the concept interesting, of course, because it's not like we don't have movies aimed at different age groups. However, I think there's many subjects discussed in shonens I've watched that are perfectly fine being catered towards teen girls too. Same goes for any boys watching any shoujo series. It's very much like going into a store and seeing two sets of toys, one pink and labelled for girls and one blue and labelled for boys. It's frustrating to see because we should aim to be more inclusive, but again, like I said, I won't dispute it because I don't pretend to understand the possible cultural reason for this structuring of genres.
Even if the original target for shonen is meant to be pleasing adolescent males, it's not always necessarily the case. Take My Hero Academia, one of the more popular shonen franchises out there. It has a massive women's fan base since action fighting can appeal to them too. The point is, shonen isn't just pleasing men, it's satisfying other genders as well. Do you see what necessarily makes these sorts of series popular in any regard?
Yeah, honestly, what we think about with My Hero, we think what immediately brought us into even liking that show. We had interesting powers in an interesting world, underdog. Everyone likes the underdog story. Why do you think shows like My Hero, Black Clover, Naruto, shows like these are as popular as they are? And also, we're hooked and engaged from the start because boomskis. Come on, that's what we like from shonen. The progress of our youngling. I'm 16, I'm gonna become the Wizard King. 16, I'm gonna become the Hokage. I'm gonna become number one hero. We get the clear goal from the start, right? I want to be a hero. Naruto, I want to be Hokage. And then the whole journey is seeing them become that small little 16-year-old insignificant, worthless brat and becoming the goat of all goats. That's a big appeal, I think. The power systems, come on. We like seeing meatheads do meathead stuff. You know, like seeing All Might do a damn Ohio Smash on fucking All for One or something. You know, like seeing Gojo do Hollow Purple. You know, like seeing we like seeing cool, unique powers. I saw Naruto come from the sky, boom, crash down with the red cloak, Sage Mode with 3 Gigatoads. We like seeing transformations. Oh my god, transformations. Goku and Super Saiyan, the whole world changed. Next thing you know, we getting Ichigo 30 transformations that all look fire. Transformations, cool powers, meathead fights, underdog stories. This is what hooks people into shonen. They keep coming back to watch more, to find new shows. That's all I gotta say.
From the perspective of an American, presentation and storytelling, the tonal shift from cartoons here from Japan was insane. Anime-manga stories went for more far wider risks in its narrative, accompanied with stellar artwork that enhanced the experience. Yeah, absolutely. People watch shonen for the action, but some watch for the relatability aspect. Take Watamote, for example. That's classified as shonen, yet people praise it for a completely different reason, stating that she's just like me for real. The key point for any demographic is connecting with the audience, wanting to be by their side. Without relatability, a smaller number of people will stay to watch. What is your response to people bashing each other over certain series, and do you feel as though these sorts of debates or discourse is warranted?
I think criticism for anything is always warranted, just because I think nothing is free of criticism. However, as anyone who spends time on spaces like Twitter can tell you, there's always the people who take things too far. Most people can't have a regular conversation or debate without either getting heated themselves or other people getting involved. And there's a lot of hate across genres too. People being die-hard fans of one genre and not being able to tolerate the success of another. I mean, one of the main reasons we made the dress-up darling video was because of the way Attack on Titan fans trashed the series for beating it out on a seasonal anime award. People are often toxic, but I don't think there's much to be done about that. We just all have to do our bit to make the community a more welcoming place.
Oh, I got something to tell you individuals. Shame on you. There's no reason why you need to be picking or tearing about other people's works because you believe Gear 5 clears. If I was the Black Clover author, or a damn Horikoshi or somebody, or My Hero, and I go on Twitter one day and I see a bunch of One Piece fans talking about Gear 5 better, My Hero sucks, author don't know how to do shit. I think people need to look in the mirror and realize that they are the problem. It's just a way to say that you really like your own series without bashing other people's series, even if you're not trying or not thinking that you're being inconsiderate. Rude. disrespectful. Work on it, bruh. Because if you say something like, bruh, My Hero alright, but did you see the way Naruto went QB chakra move for the first time, bruh? But that's way better. Good to say, yeah, My Hero was cool. Also, one of my favorites was when Naruto did the QB chakra move for the first time. That's all you had to say. I promise you can like your early series without putting others down, and people will hate you. There's a lot of bashing going on, and it's just so corny. You know, you're right to your opinion. If you want to comment and be like, so Isayama did this with the ending, and I didn't really like it that much. That's a respectful comment that you made. It's not even like he like did nothing bad, or like he's like a weirdo or something. Or he like maybe he did a crime or something. No, he's just like some of these authors just be getting bashed for no reason. Like, bruh, what is your issue?
Discourses/debates are fine, but never to the point where slander has to be thrown around. I get that some shonen series fail to meet certain expectations or outdo another in terms of one thing or another, but that's not necessarily something that should cause someone to lash out at another series to simply disrespect it. Everything has nuance. All of that bashing is unwarranted unless it's done with the intention to genuinely critique the series in question. Criticizing and bashing do not have the same meaning. That much is true. Now, I hope these responses, in some way, can give you an idea as to the influence that shonen has had on anime enjoyers across the world. For me, I reckon the entire point of this video was to truly represent the effect that certain series within the shonen sphere have affected people. And from the responses, it's clear that shonen has woven itself deeply within all of us. Just like with most media, it provides a common ground for discussion and connection, unifying us all together. These discussions, despite how contentious they may be at times, are a testament to the passion and connection shonen creates. Take once again, for example, My Hero Academia. It's not flawless, absolutely not, but you can't deny that the series is what shonen represents, and what makes the entire category so captivating. Growth, perseverance, pursuing your dreams with relentlessness. A true underdog story like Archer said, which builds that relatability factor. I love the story of Deku going from quirkless to yet another symbol of hope following in the footsteps of All Might. He now gets to experience being a hero practically instead of observing and taking notes, controlling one for all and trying to utilize his quirk to the fullest extent. It's for these reasons I still absolutely love My Hero Academia and believe it deserves its significance, and a lot of people can attest and agree to this. All in all, shonen anime and manga, despite often sparking contentiousness, has a power to bring people together through a shared experience. It's for everyone. It creates common ground. It can create genuine respect for mangaka long since past or still creating to this day. The enthusiasm brings us together in community and belonging, turning casual viewers into friends and creating lasting bonds. Discussions, agree or disagree, contribute to bringing us all together, and that is something truly special.
No